So in this short segment, you're here to check your answer. So the answer to number 2 is this middle interval is where you get a negative, right? Because this one's less than 0. All right, so the answer is -2.6. And if you got this wrong, stay on the video at the end and I'll go over it. And then the next answer that you're checking here. All right, so this is how that expression factors. We're looking for where it's greater than 0. And so that would be -infinity to -1/2, 7 to infinity. Okay, and then let's just do one of these examples together down in this bottom row. All right, so I did say there's 3 possibilities: equal to 0, greater than 0, or less than 0. That's true if I'm working with a polynomial. However, if I have a rational function, there's another possibility, right? It's where's the function undefined as well. So I can either be greater than 0, less than 0, equal to 0, or undefined, okay? So when I put numbers on this number line, I have to put not only where the rational expression is 0, and we know that a fraction is 0 if the numerator is 0, but then I also have to put the value 1 on my number line. That's where the expression is undefined, okay? So I would have, I wish we were in class because I would ask all of you, is there a hole in the graph or a vertical asymptote line? And because the factor x minus 1 doesn't cancel, it's a vertical asymptote line. Sometimes I do this on my number line to remind myself that I have a vertical asymptote line there. All right, and now let's just see where this is positive versus negative. So I'm going to pick a test value. Let's see, 0 is less than 1. I love testing 0. That would give me, if I plug in 0, -4 over -1, a negative over a negative, which is positive. All right, so I'd be positive coming up to that asymptote line. And then over here, let's see, a value between 1 and 4. So I don't know, let's test 2. Okay, if I plug 2 in, I would have a negative in the numerator, but a positive in the denominator. So that's a negative. Negative divided by positive is negative, which is going to be part of my answer then, because I'm looking for where this expression is negative. And then let's test 5. And that would be a positive over a positive, right? So that would be positive, right? Because positive over positive. All right, so the answer to this would be 1 to 4. Okay, so these really involve the same idea, just we have to put the point at which the rational function is also undefined. Okay? So again, if you missed either of the ones at the beginning, I'm going to go over them here. Otherwise, you can log out of the video, close out of the video. Okay, so for this one, we want to pick a value between -2 and 6, so I'm going to pick 0. I love 0, right? So easy to plug in. Value greater than 6, so let's pick 7. Value less than -3, so let's do like less than -2, so I'm going to do -3. Sometimes I see people do silly things like they put -1, right? But that -1 is greater than -2. All right, so if I were to plug in -3, -3 minus 6, that's a going more into debt problem. That would give me a negative. And then if I plug -3 in here, that would also give me a negative. All right, so then negative times a negative is positive. If I plug in 0, which is so easy, I'd get -6 times +2, but I don't care about the actual numbers, I just care about the sign. So that would be a negative times a positive, which is negative, which is why this interval is my answer. And then if I plug in 7, that would give me a +1. And then this would give me +9, but I don't care about the actual number, I just care that it's positive. And so this would also be positive. All right, in the other example, this one, where am I here? This one. Okay, so pick a value between -1/2 and 7. I could pick 1, I'm going to pick 0. Something bigger than 7, like 8. Less than -1/2. So like -1 would work. All right, so I'll start with -1. That would be -2 plus 1. That's a negative. And then -1 minus 7, right? So you shouldn't have to use your calculator. You should know that that would be -8. It's a going more in depth problem. So negative times negative is positive. And then when I plug in 0, that's super easy, right? That's 0, that's 0. So I'd have a positive times a negative. And then over here, positive times positive. And that's why my final answer is the interval listed below. So thanks for hanging in there to watch me go over the final answers.